In this video, I'll be reviewing the Pioneer XDJ-XZ, Pioneer's all-in-one DJ mixer. For those of you that don't know, my name is Edders. I've been a DJ for over 7 years now. I've done everything from club residencies to mobile DJing gigs to opening for some of the biggest touring acts there are out there, like Subtronics and Young Gravy. For this review, I'm not going to get into the nitty-gritty details of every little thing a button does on this board or every little setting there is to change. I want to give you a general overview of if the XZ is the right option for you if you're looking to upgrade or just get into an XZ for your at-home system or for mobile DJing or anything along those lines. Really just give you a general sense of what this board is all about and what its capabilities are and who I think it's for. First off, I just want to touch on the quality of this board. If you've ever owned any board from Pioneer, whether it's a CJ all the way down to like their beginner models, you know that their quality is top tier and there's nothing really that comes close to it. They're by far the best quality boards that I've ever used, and the XDJ is no exception to this. It's very well made. You don't really need to worry about it all that much. Very solid. But if you are taking it mobile on the road, you're packing it in a car, you're loading speakers and all that kind of stuff in with it as well, I'd highly recommend getting the flight case just to give you that extra peace of mind. More than likely it'd be okay if you're throwing it in and being smart about it, at least not stacking stuff on top of it without a case. You'll be fine. But if you do opt for the flight case, there's absolutely no worries. I've stacked tons of speakers on top of the case. They've rolled around in the back seat and it's completely fine. A flight case will solve all your problems. You won't have to worry about it. In addition to talking about moving this thing around, it's very heavy and that flight case does not make it any lighter. So if you are thinking about being a mobile DJ with an XZ, keep that in mind because it's gonna be a little bit of a to move this thing from one place to another. Now let's move into the features of the XZ. Starting at the top left, you have your mic inputs. You have 2 of them and you have low, mid, and high EQ independent for both channels, which is a nice touch to have if you have 2 varied mics like I do when I'm streaming. I have the old telephone mic and then your classic microphone. Another feature that I don't believe is on a ton of other boards, but is a very cool feature to have on the XZ is the feedback reducer. You have the option of either light or heavy feedback reduction and an on and off switch for that. Moving swiftly along to the platter section of the boards, they are identical from left to right and they mirror those of CDJs. We'll start with the main piece, obviously the jog wheel. If you've used in Pioneer CDJ 2000 Nexus 2, then this will be very familiar to you because this is almost the exact same platter that is on those boards. The feel and everything is just the same. It's not as smooth as the 3000s if you're familiar with those. You still have the very mechanical feeling that these jog wheels come with. But in addition, you get this large screen that has a few options to display, but this is the one that I stick on that gives you the most information, because if you're looking for another track, you lose the information on the screen. So it's nice to have another option to see your BPM, see the key of your song, and see where it's at in the waveform along with that. Moving down to the tempo fader, there is no spot where it will click in exactly at 0, but you do have your tempo reset that will automatically take it back to the native tempo of the track. You have a very large area to move the tempo fader around, and with the tempo adjust, the sky's the limit and you're really not handcuffed by anything in that realm. You have your cue and your play button. If I have to tell you how to use those, I don't know why you're watching this video. I'm sorry, I don't. Moving swiftly along down here, you have your pad modes. You have hot cue, beat loop, slip loop, and beat jump. I absolutely love these pad modes on this board. I feel like they are all very useful. I mainly use the hot cues, but to have the option for a slip loop and the beat loop on the pads, I love that feature and I do find myself using them rather frequently. Now moving to the mixer section of the board, if you're familiar with the DJM 900 Nexus 2, this is basically the same thing with all the same, almost all the same features. Not all the same features, but almost all the same features. Obviously, you have your 4 channels with your trim, high, mid, low color filter knobs, cue buttons, faders, A, B, through, crossfader, assignment, and your buttery crossfader down here. Moving down your color effects, you have space, dub echo, sweep, noise, crush, filter. all the standards that you'd want to have quick access to. Now moving on to your beat effects that I know a lot of people really enjoy. I am no master when it comes to the beat effects, but I do like to have a little fun with it, and it has some great options in here to get creative. You do have a small, not touchscreen, but like padded area where you can control all of the effects. I'm gonna run through all the effects that this board has very quickly. You have delay, echo, ping pong, spiral, reverb, trance, filter, flanger, phaser, pitch, slip roll, vinyl break, helix. So you have a ton of options here with this beat effects. Now moving to the piece of resistance for this DJ board is your screen. Now this is almost identical to what you would find on a XDJ-2000 Nexus 2, but there are some slight differences, and I'll walk you through those right now. Obviously the deck quantized, loading 1, 2. So there's a little things that differ from the CDJs, but if you're used to that, it's going to be very familiar. Additionally, this is a touch screen display. So if you go to search and you want to search a track and NCS, boom, you have touch screen. Because this loads to 2 decks, you have a couple options when you're loading a track. You can click down on the button, then select which deck you would like to load it to, either 1 or 2, or additionally, you can just click it to load onto deck 2 or deck 1 from these buttons below when you have the track highlighted, which is what I opt for most of the time. Now moving along to the last top right section of this mixer, you have your master level output, as well as your headphones cue, and additionally on the XC they have the option to EQ your master output with the low, mids, and highs, which is an absolutely incredible feature that was added onto this board, because if you are a mobile DJ or even some club DJs, you know that the systems that they use are not always the best, and they might be lacking low end or have way too much low end. So it is nice to have this fail-safe here where you can manually adjust the output to the speakers and everything coming out of the board to all have your low end cut or higher, and same thing with the mids and highs, so that you're not trying to every time have your faders moved up on the low end on every single track and remembering to do that every time. You can set there and forget about it for the rest of the night. Lastly, you have why you're probably purchasing this board in the first place is the USB inputs. You have 2 USB inputs with the USB stop buttons below it. Please, for the love of God, when you remove your USBs, click the USB stop button before you do it. Moving along, you can have 2 USBs loaded in here with music. If you're doing a back-to-back, makes everything super fluid. And this board does have the capability of running just off a USB. As you can see, there's no laptop connected to this at this point, but we'll get to that in a second. Now, if you're DJing by yourself and you want to record your set and all you have is your USB with you, you can bring a second USB to record your set with the master record button. There is a very good feature for those that don't like bringing their laptops places or to gigs or anything like that. To be able to use a USB with this board, you obviously need to use Rekordbox and export your libraries to the USB using Rekordbox's export feature, which is free. You don't need the performance software or anything like that. Now for the inputs on the back of the controller, you have an extension link, which you can plug into like a sampler, things like that. You have your links for channel 4 and channel 3, as well as your USB input. This is where you would plug in your laptop to. You have your balanced booth out TRS connections. You have your master 1 outputs, XLR outputs. You have RCA master 2 outputs, and then you have an unbalanced TRS send left and right. You have your signal ground. Yeah, it does things. You have your channel 4 phono and line RCA in, and then you have your channel 3 phono and line RCA in, and you have your aux RCA left and right in, as well as your 2 balanced mic inputs that accept either XLR or TRS input, and then obviously your power connector. And the power button's on the back as well, you know, don't forget about that. All right, now that we've gone through the nitty-gritty, I've talked you through all the buttons and knobs and craziness that this board can offer. Who is this board for? I believe that this board is for your intermediate to professional level DJs that are looking for the at-home option to prepare themselves to CDJs. If you're not looking to spend 20 grand on a CDJ setup that's gonna stay in your room, why not spend 2 grand and basically have the same thing? Like, it's a no-brainer to me. And I know you may be thinking, well, oh, the Opus Quad just came out. Well, the one thing that the Opus Quad does better, and the only thing that the Opus Quad does better, in my opinion, is that when you're using a USB, it gives you access to channels 3 and 4. On the XZ, you do not have access to channels 3 and 4 with the USB. The only way that you get access to channels 3 and 4 on the XZ is by either plugging in a laptop, which will give you access to channels 3 and 4. To access those channels, when you have the laptop, you double click shift and it'll rotate over to whatever, either channel 4 or channel 3, depending on which side you click shift on, obviously. Now, additionally, you can add CDJs to this setup. If you add a CDJ, you do have your link inputs through Ethernet cables for the whole system to work very fluidly together. If you add a CDJ on either side, those can now control channels 3 and 4 and talk to the XZ. And whether you have your USB plugged into the XZ or one of the CDJs, if you are using the link connections here, then you're gonna be all good and everything's gonna talk to each other and you'll be able to access your tracks from the CDJ to the XZ, and if you have another CDJ, you can access them on there as well. I believe that the XZ is a much better option if you're preparing to move to CDJs. For me personally, being able to use the same exact format of the mixer that I'm gonna be using, the same size jog wheels. Yes, the hot cues are moved to a little bit different position on the CDJs, but that's not that deep in my opinion. With everything else being so close and so similar, and button feel and faders and everything like that, I believe that the XZ is the perfect option preparing you to move to CDJ. For me, that's the biggest thing, is being prepared for when you step on stage in front of hundreds or thousands of people to feel comfortable as quickly as possible. Yes, you can get used to it over time, or maybe you're just that guy and you're comfortable on everything within minutes. I think most of us out there aren't, and that's why I think this is the best option. Finally, I'll give you my overall opinion on the XZ. I believe that this is the best board out there to buy still in 2023. Some people might argue that it's the Opus Quad or maybe an SRT or things along those lines. It ultimately comes down to your budget and what you're looking to do as a DJ. But like I said, I believe that this is the perfect option for anybody that's either frequently in the club using CDJs or knows they're gonna be on CDJs in the future or anything along those lines. This is the perfect option for you. If you're a mobile DJ, I believe it comes down to more personal preference because you're using your board all the time. You're transporting it from place to place. This board is not the best to transport. It's a little annoying to transport it because it's so big and takes up a lot of space and it's very heavy and all those things like that. But I use it for my mobile DJ gigs as well, and there's just no getting around it because this is the system that I absolutely love, and you can do just about everything with this board. All right, if you made it this far in the video, thank you. I appreciate you. And I hope you've learned something or this has helped you make your decision. If I missed anything or you want to see me go more in depth into any of these features on the board, leave a comment and I'll go more in depth in that if I can. If it's something I don't know about, maybe I'll make a video and say I don't know about it. But yeah, that's a review. Pioneer XDJ-XZ. In white, don't forget it. It comes in black as well. I forgot about that. But yeah, thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. That's what they say on YouTube. Yeah. So yeah, do that. Click the button. All right. We'll be seeing you. Okay. See you later. All right. I'm gonna go do something, I guess. Good boy.